Thanks for tuning in to the Steebee Weebee Show ASMR series. The reason why I decided to do these videos is because I listen to ASMR every night before I go to sleep. The two main people that I have watched are Maria and Heather Feather. I wanted to do something a little different though, since Money Mark gave me a piano, I wanted to add the piano with the ASMR to help the story. So this first episode is about Tojan, the wood elf, and him trying to find a cure for his blindness. Yes, he is a blind wood elf. Welcome to Steebee Weebee's ASMR series. Today's episode is about Tojen, the blind wood elf. Tojen lived in the woods but could not see. Tojan was born in Nequast Forest and was blind at birth and was raised by a pack of wolves. The mother wolf, Ry, taught him how to navigate through the forest and taught him how to hunt with his bare hands. When Tojan was 12 years old, Telmaroon, the evil albino dragon, killed the pack of wolves who raised Tojan. Tojan was very distraught and had to fend for himself. He had been told that there was an ancient tea that could cure his blindness. But he could not do it alone. He needed a spiritual guide and strong warrior to help him. He had heard about a warrior named Vlad, the squirrel. Vlad was half human and half squirrel. His squirrel tail swung like a baseball bat and had a sharp, poisonous poisonous spike at the end of it. Vlad, the squirrel, came from the children of the down. Vlad was the last of his kind and swore vengeance on the ones that killed off the squirrel clan. Vlad lived inside foresaid cave. Northeast of No Man's Canyon. West of Cithero. East of Limland. Southwest of Cron Yard. 80 miles from Morse Lake. 25 kilometers from Elul, near Clawler, past Evernoon Greens. He had heard from the townspeople that Tojan was in search of the blind healing leaves. He did not care about the dangers involved because he did not fear death. No woman had ever laid their eyes on Vlad because they feared they would grow hair on their faces if they looked at him. Vlad the squirrel and Tojen arranged a meeting at Bircher Cabin halfway to Me Mountain. Tojan offered Vlad 20 gold coins if he could find the lime ward leaves near the mountain. Lime ward leaves was a tea that Tojan had to drink to cure his blindness. But there was one major obstacle in their way. Telmaroon, the albino dragon. Telmaroon, the albino dragon, lived on top of Telmaroon, the albino dragon, was neglected as a small dragon. The kids of Kanar used to throw stones at him. When he was young, he looked at his reflection in a lake and knew he was different from the other dragons. Out of jealousy, he had crushed the eggs of the darker dragons. He was then banned from the Triangle Mountains. In exile, his mind grew more and more evil, and his heart became cold as stone. The only mountain he could go to was Weebee Mountain. Near the Angkorian lava pits. The only thing of value there was a small patch of garden that grew limewort leaves. Limewort leaves cured blindness. Limewort leaves extended all life over 100 years. Limewort leaves tasted like honey. Limewort leaves helped in developing telepathic abilities. Telmaroon would keep the leaves in his mouth, and he would eat the leaves like licorice sticks. The meeting between Tojan and Vlad the squirrel was successful. They both met at Bircher Cabin and shared pints of lager together. They got along so well that Tojan offered to pay him more money, but Vlad refused. The only problem was that there was a dangerous path up to the mountain. Everyone in the village knew about Ry Lamar, the defecated witch. Ry Lamar was the ugliest woman on earth. Ry Lamar, the defecated witch, lived in Porf Cave. Ry Lamar was so ugly that no one ever wanted to look at her. Her hair that was burnt off during the Sun Witch trials. What was left were 5 gray hairs on top of her head. Her breath smelt like a sewer. Every time she spoke, pieces of poo would come out of her mouth. The poo was poisonous to the touch. If the poo touched you, your skin would burn off like acid. Her eyes were as white as the clouds. Her eyes were whiter than Linda Blair's from The Exorcist. Ry Lamar would steal babies from the neighboring towns. She would throw up on the babies until all that were left were bones. She would make weapons out of the baby bones and would enchant them. She would make these weapons more powerful than the strongest iron swords. Tojan and Vlad would have to pass by Poor Cave on the way to Mimi Mountain. When Tojan and Vlad approached the cave, Tojan became very ill. He asked Vlad if they could turn around, but Vlad refused because he knew how to defeat Ry Lamar, the defecated witch. You might ask how he would defeat her. He had a poison tail that could kill Ry Lamar if it injected her skin. The only problem was the poo. If Ry Lamar got her poo breath anywhere near Vlad the squirrel, he would surely perish. But Tojan became more and more confident in Vlad's abilities as a master squirrel warrior. He said, "Vlad, I believe in you. I know you could defeat Ry Lamar, the defecated witch. Do not be afraid, Vlad. I have my bow and arrows, and if you miss with your tail, I shall surely connect with one of my arrows. Vlad turned to Tojan and smiled. And he said, "You know, man, you're my real good friend." And Vlad said, "You know, Tojan, after this is all over and you could see, we should move in together." But Tojan was used to living by himself and didn't want to live with anybody. And Vlad said, "That's okay, man. We could just go our separate ways after we defeat Telmaroon, the albino dragon." When Ry Lamar heard the two coming, she laughed, but in fear, because she knew deep inside that her time was up. So, when the two approached, she threw up and tried to hit them with her poo pellets. The poo from her mouth missed both of them, and Tojan took out one of his arrows and shot her in the middle of her face. She died instantly, and they both looked at her corpse. They couldn't stand the smell because it smelled like awful poo. But the final task was at hand. They still had to face Telmaroon, the albino dragon. But what they did not know is that Telmaroon had a special ability. Telmaroon, the albino dragon, was able to spit out ice. When they finally reached the bottom of Mimi Mountain, they were very fatigued. Tojan reached inside his bag and grabbed a loaf of bread. He offered half of the bread to Vlad the squirrel. Vlad the squirrel was appreciative and said, "Thank you for the half piece of bread." They both sat down on a dirt patch and enjoyed enjoyed their bread together. They both looked at each other and knew they had a very big task at hand. Vlad turned to Tojan and said, "You know what, man? If we both die on this adventure, I'm glad I met you." And Tojan turned to him and said, "I feel the same way. You are the strongest squirrel man I've ever met." They both looked up towards the top of the mountain. Telmaroon had spotted the two. He looked at the two and said to turn back and to get away from his mountain. Vlad the squirrel and Tojan said, You're messing around with the wrong ones, man. We're not scared of you. We've beaten many of dragons. Telmaroon, the albino dragon, swooped down with his large wings. They noticed that there were patches of ice everywhere that Telmaroon flew near. Tojen turned to Vlad and said, Do you know what's happening? Why is everything turning cold and ice? He said, I have no idea, but I feel like he has some kind of ice power coming out of his mouth. But it was too late for Vlad. For Telmaroon had turned Vlad into a popsicle stick. Tojan was so scared and frightened. He did not know what to do. Because obviously he could not see out of his eyes. But he had deep belief that if he could get near the dragon and somehow jump on the dragon's body, he had a poisonous dagger in his left pocket. During the second pass, Telmaroon the dragon came closer to the ground. was Tojan's opportunity. He had somehow got on the dragon's back. Then miraculously, he broke out his poisonous dagger and punctured the dragon's skin with the knife. Telmaroon the dragon fell onto the ground and was stiff, could not move anymore, for the dagger had surely killed him. Tojan had finally found his nirvana. He now had free access to all the limewort leaves that he could possibly make tea with. He gathered the leaves and went back to his cabin. He made a hot pot of tea with the limewort leaves. The next morning, when Tojan woke up, he could finally see for the first time. He looked in the mirror, and then he could see his reflection for the first time. And that's that. That was the story of Tojan, the blind wood elf. Join us next week for another episode of Steebee Weebee, the ASMR series. Thanks for